And to my regular Thursday panel, Sky News hosts James Macpherson and Daisy Cousins. Welcome to you both. This is going to be fun. Can I start with both of you? What is it with sport and politics? We've got the Australian cricket team already refusing to play Afghanistan because of the Taliban. Yesterday, the Australian Open declaring a First Nations Day and selling what's called a mob ticket. A ticket $10 off for anyone claiming to be Aboriginal. No checks on whether they were lying. Daisy, is this a helpful way of promoting human rights and tolerance?
Well, I certainly don't think it is in the case of the mob discount at the Australian Open, Andrew. That to me is just so completely patronising. And as Warren Mundine said today, because it implies that all Indigenous people are somehow poor and can't afford things and therefore need some sort of handout in order to help them afford tennis tickets. I mean, that is just so insulting to Indigenous people who work hard and earn money and can pay for their own ground passes without any kind of discount. And this is what we call, Andrew, as we all know, the bigotry of low expectations. It is rampant on the left.
Absolutely.
They try to be so woke, but all they end up being is patronising.
But it's not only racist in that way, James. I mean, put it the other way. Not that Aboriginals are charged less. Whites and Asians are charged extra. Now, does that look so good and inclusive?
Can you believe that we're charging ticket prices based on the colour of people's skin and we're calling this progress? This is not progress, this is regression. But I think, Andrew, people want to be able to go to the sport and enjoy sport without having to endure a sermon. If I want a sermon, I'll go to church on Sunday, but when I go to the football or the cricket or the tennis, I just want to see someone hit that tennis ball as hard as they possibly can and someone else attempt to return it. And what sporting administrators are missing here is that sport has an innate ability to bring people together. When you go to the football and you put on, in your case, I think a Richmond football jumper, when you're wearing that jumper, it doesn't matter whether you're straight or homosexual, whether you're Indigenous or non-Indigenous, male or female, rich or poor. In that moment, everybody belongs. Sport does that automatically, but sports administrators can't help but hijack our sporting events by trying to parade their own virtue and in doing so are only serving to divide us.
Well, when you're talking about virtue signallers, the resignation today of Jacinda Ardern, Daisy, how do you see it? Did she just go too woke? I mean, she's so loved by the left here.
God, I think a number of things. I think one of the things that really got her, Andrew, was this mad climate change fanaticism. I mean, I reckon that tax that she was implementing on the burps of cows, I mean, that was so bad for farmers. It would drive farms out of business. It would jack up the price of meat like inflation on steroids. I think the unpopularity is for a lot of reasons, but I think the reason she has resigned, in my opinion, is because she just knows she's going to lose at the election and she can't stand the thought of being pipped at the post, and that shows such a character defect. It is so cowardly. And if I were, Jacinda Ardern needs to take a leaf out of Rafael Nadal, the tennis player's book. Since it is tennis season, we're going to use a tennis analogy. He injured himself in his match yesterday. He struggled through to the end, practically on one leg, but he did not withdraw because he respects his opponent enough to push through to the end and not deny them the victory. Jacinda Ardern, in her cowardly way, has done the exact opposite of that. Moral of the story, in life, be more like Rafael Nadal and less like Jacinda Ardern.
I just wondered, James, whether this is a message for the Albanese government, you know, because it's following the same sort of agenda, global warming, racial division, and just it takes time for people to see, wait a minute, this is not actually working out like they promised.
Yeah, well, these are politicians sort of leading by feels rather than by actually getting things done. Jacinda Ardern said that she wants to be remembered for being empathetic and kind. Well, she won't be remembered for building a strong economy or for, standing up for civil liberties. She turned the land of Sir Edmund Hillary into a COVID hermit kingdom. She threatened to decimate the agricultural industry, as Daisy said, by campaigning for a fart tax on animals. And she declared her government to be the sole source of truth in 2020, which wasn't exactly an endorsement of free speech. And the fact is that her popularity rating at the moment as preferred Prime Minister is 29%, which makes her slightly more popular than Prince Harry at the moment, which may be why she's bowing out early. She says she's running on empty. Well, the truth is, I think the voters have had their fill of her.
Well, speaking of Harry, it's interesting. I mean, Harry and Meghan Markle have destroyed their reputation in Britain with their whinging and their attacks on the royal family. And I thought, yeah, well, fine. But I thought Americans, in contrast, they would cheer them on. But a poll for Newsweek says they're now poison in the US as well. Harry's net popularity dropped in just 1 month from plus 38 to minus 7. Meghan Markle's has gone from plus 23 to minus 13. What's the moral of this, Daisy?
I think the moral of the story is read the room. I think, Meghan and Harry just have it so wrong, even with Americans. I mean, for 3 reasons, very quickly. The first is the absolute obvious, which is people get so sick of these nepotism babies complaining about how terrible their lives are at this time of dire financial hardship for so many people. The second is that Americans actually have quite a complicated relationship with royalty. They don't actually think it's that important. And also, I just don't think that people like him bagging out his family publicly. It's very, very rude, and people don't dig it.
James, what do you make of it? What's your moral?
Well, I mean, America is the country that gave us the Jerry Springer show, so they've got a high tolerance level for rubbish, but even Americans have their limits, as they're now showing. They're sick of Harry and Meghan's charades, and the late-night TV programs on America are now ridiculing and making fun of Harry, and why wouldn't you? I mean, he's talking about having a frostbitten penis.
I mean, they're a land of get up and go.
Exactly.
And these two just got up and went. That's it for me. For us, thank you so much, guys. Thank you very much.